Okay, I've got Mike Donohue from Spring Hill, Florida, and he is speaking with Ken
Okay, Mike Donohue,
Bingenhen from
Donohue.
the Examiner.
In some ways, I've worked on
Professional.
race cars pretty much from the time I was 18 up and including the Indy 500, 24 hours Daytona, 12 hours of Sebring, several other endurance races. Even in SCCA, we ran rabbits and raced up in Ohio. We won our class 4 years in a row, 24-hour event up there at Nelson Ledges, going as far as 1,981 miles in a day, and that included a clutch change in 27 minutes. Not too bad on a rabbit. So prep. It's a long way to go, and it's kind of a short time to get there. But you know, when you look at riding on a motorcycle, it's a very short time to spend that much time for most people. Considering most people probably don't ride a motorcycle that much in a year, much less in 2 weeks. People would have problems, and people would stop and help each other. To me, that's one of the biggest highlights is when you saw someone in trouble and you helped them, or if you may have had a problem, the group of guys that would get together and help each other out. I think that's probably the biggest highlight. These guys helping other guys who are ultimately their competition in theory make it to the end. The one place that's there, and then it's another 50 miles, they're closed. They have primitive old pumps and no card readers. You're there for the night. Camping out in a sleeping bag on the top of a picnic table with freezing winds and probably in the 30-degree temperatures. At that point, you're thinking, what the heck am I doing here? This is crazy. But you're also kind of a no man's land. You already have done what you've done. You can't really go back because you're going to have to re-endure it again anyway. And you just have to keep going back to this was meant to be a challenge, not a cakewalk. A lot of events that are in the heat or heat and rain combination, but very seldom do you ever catch one with pretty much every kind of weather. We didn't have a blizzard. I mean, other than that, we pretty much hit a lot of the other types of weather that you would never hit all that time. And the fact you complete it and now you have to ride home, I mean, that's kind of the kicker to it. And I'm riding back almost to the start. So I certainly will, because, well, I'm doing a stop down in Phoenix to go race Corvettes for 3 days, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. And then I'm going to swing through St. Louis on the way back. I got a friend of mine with a magazine, the Biking Life magazine, that him and the guys there took up a collection, so they're going to help me out a little bit on some of my expenses. And go see some old riding buddies from the Midwest, and my wife's going to come up, and we're going to go to a little town homecoming where we lived for a year and a half, and then I'll ride home. So I'm pretty much taking probably a 4 to 6 week little vacation. It's hard to get guys that one could just do the entry fee, much less actually participate in, because you're looking at a $5,000 to $10,000 event. By the time you run this thing, gas and expenses, whatever preparations you did, you're looking at doing at least 2 rear tires on this event. And then when you're done, you're still going to have to do maintenance to fix whatever happened or cosmetic blemishes. And there's guys getting anything from rocks that took things out on bikes to guys that went down, hit moose or deer or whatever they might have hit. Well, there's the maintenance. I mean, you're looking at some guys were doing oil changes on the way, and you know, certainly a back tire is going to wear out at least. So, some change them on the way, and even so, right now that it's done, I mean, I finished on, with very little rubber actually left. I'm going to have to change before I go home, and when I get home, I'll have to change it. And by the time I get there, I'll have to do the front as well, because generally it's 2 to 1 from rears to fronts. But there were a lot of very expensive pretty bikes, a lot of Screaming Eagle bikes, which are well into the 30,000, mid 30,000 range. That they're not quite as pretty as they were, either from just being dirt because of some of the things. Some of them may have had a brush up against thing or on the ground. And you've got to factor all those costs in. It's even though it's not what it costs you to get to the point. It's the total cost of the event, prepping, doing it, getting home, and putting your bike back in the condition that it was to start. When you entail all that, you're really looking at $5-10 grand easily. And there's just not a, there's just, in this economic condition, there's not a whole lot that have the money to do that, or even really were aware of it. You know, at first you're thinking, 8,500 miles, that's nothing, just gas. What's more than gas? You know, there's a certain wear and tear factor on the bike itself and parts, and not to mention yourself. You know, you're out there burning up in the sun at first, chilling out, and it'll change your body a little bit when it's done. You may not realize it first, but when you're done, you lay in bed. I mean, last night I was like, wow, this feels really good. But then all of a sudden you start feeling these aches because you were ignoring them because you're going down the road.